Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about craft beer and video games. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Lucy.
Hi.
Hi. And Aadil.
Hey!
It's episode 426.
Jesus. Sorry, I just want to point out that, I've met a couple of new people over the past couple of weeks, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I do this podcast. And they're like, oh, yeah? And I'm like, oh, yeah, we're like 400 episodes in. And they're like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean you do a podcast? And they're like, oh, yeah, you've been doing it for like a decade. I'm like, oh, right, shit. 420 episodes, whatever the number is after the 4-2, is wild. So I'm really glad we got to do most of these with each other, and I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember exactly the points.
Oh, I don't even want to find
there's
it.
so it's one of those where you came in like episode 4 or 5 or something very, very early, and Lucy actually came in double-digit figures, I think, not even triple digits at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, yeah, we have done a shit ton of hanging out, drinking beers together, not together.
Yeah, I mean, time makes no sense.
I literally describe it as an excuse to hang out with two of my good friends, and we put it on the internet, right? Like, exactly. That's what our podcast is.
Perfect. And with that, let's open some beers. Lucy, what are you drinking this week?
I'm drinking a alcohol-free beer from Mash Gang.
They do.
And it looks like a collaboration.
Ooh.
Further? Well, I'll just read what it says. Inspired by the open road, crackling campfires, and a night under the stars. A celebration of Great American Road Trip. We used orange peel and coriander seed in the boil and a classic West Coast West Coast ale yeast. Best served in a tumbler with a wedge of orange and a slice of lime.
Are you gonna do that?
It's called no. I don't even know what the beer is called. Do you really think I'm that prepared? It's called Further.
As in the fridge is further away and you need to get that slice of lime?
Yeah. But it's spelled Furthur rather than ER. So I don't know what that means. But yeah, maybe it's going for like the kind of blue moon kind of thing. I'm guessing. So yeah.
Nice, good. What was the percentage on that one? 0 or is it 0? I can never remember it's 0.5. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. When I was on antibiotics last week, and these were the ones that were like, do not drink any alcohol, don't even have cough syrup, don't even have bananas because they're fermented slightly. You can't even have that much alcohol.
Really?
I was trying to find some like 000 alcohol free beers. I'm just gonna find everything is
I think at that point you do the thing that I know I enjoy, and I think Lucy has had but not enjoyed as much. Maybe I can't remember. It's the hop water.
Oh yeah.
Thing where
I think I did that. Was it seltzer? But that was
wasn't
that alcoholic?
So hard seltzers.
Yeah. So hard seltzers and hot waters are slightly different in their taste profile, but like functionally, there's never been alcohol near it, so it is definitely 0%. Hop waters I like because they literally are hoppied water, and it's like I'm getting a bit of that bitter and whatever. There's no malts, obviously, but like I like them, but also I'm a sucker for like. The one thing that I treated myself to this year was buying on very, very huge offer a soda stream so that I could have one at the office and one at my house. Which I know is incredibly middle class. But it has been transformative because I had a colleague, one of our big name professors was asking for help to move things around in her office, and she's like, all the things I don't want are over here. And one of the things was like a bar fridge. And she's like, I'm going to send these to disposal. I'm like, I'm going to take these down one flight of stairs to my office. And like having a fridge in my office means that buying the soda stream means I can have cold water and I can make it with bubbles when I need it to be. Game changer. Also, one of my So I recognize it doesn't taste the same, and some people will say it's sacrilege, but actually, for its price, the 0% Guinness hits a bit of a Guinness spot, right? And so if it's like Thursday or Friday, I've had a long week, got a pint glass in a drawer because I don't want it out, right? But like I just like I bought a 4-pack of 0% Guinness. It's been sitting for a month or two, but I can like pour one of those and just feel like I'm like just like basically focus on a thing that tastes reasonably close to a beer, but just like have the break. It's mostly the like drinking this makes me feel like I gives me license to enjoy it, even though it's obviously not a real Guinness, but it's just like and then someone knocks on my door and I'm like, oh fuck, what do I do with this? Because if I open the door and it's a student and I've got a half pint of what looks like Guinness, that might be weird, but like mostly it's okay. But having those sparkling water, lemon juice, and then some vegan cheeses so that I can like have cheese and crackers when I realize I forgot to have lunch.
Nice.
Anyway,
thanks for the job.
Yeah. Well, perks of being a scavenger, really, right? Because like, it's like, oh, I will help you move stuff, but also the tax is you're not going to dispose of this. I'll help you get rid of it by putting it in my office.
And then call it industrious.
Yeah, and because I was borrowing an office last year, and it turns out they like in the office reshuffle, I got to keep it, but they're like, we'll get rid of his stuff, and then in the get rid of his stuff, they just took my fridge. So then I had like 3 weeks where I'm like, no, that was my fridge, and he's like, I don't have it. Who stole my fridge? So I had to track it down. But now I have my fridge back because this scavenger will fucking scavenge.
Well, what have you scavenged together tonight to drink?
Oh, I scavenged this. This is a beer that I've been waiting to have on the podcast because I scavenged it when I was in the Netherlands in September. It is Jopen's Zwarte Ziel. It is a barrel-aged 365 days aged on Woodford bourbon barrels, Imperial smoked porter, 10.2%. Not for the faint-hearted, we warn you. It's a pitch-black soul with a hint of smokiness. Who's ready to go dark? You'll get aromas of light smoke, wood, and plums, followed by flavors of dark fruit, vanilla, and licorice, topped off with a slightly peated finish. Now that's some dark soul. I think the first half of that might be my new dating profile. So I've been saving this because it was their limited edition smoked porter. From I think it might actually be last year.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm a sucker for smoked porters. Well, I'm a sucker for quality porters, sucker for smoked things. In fact, it's peaty. I'm really looking forward to this, and I was like, I will definitely have this in podcast. So I will start pouring that while Ben tells us about his beer.
Yes, I got double IPA, 8% beer this week. It's a collaboration brewed at Beak with Queer Brewing. Yeah, it's called Toots. A little bit of flavor text. This uber bouncy double India Pale Ale was created in collaboration with our good pals at Queer Brewing. Brewed with copious additions of Simcoe and hand-selected Citra and Mosaic, along with a soup con. A soup con of Galaxy. What's a soup con?
A soupçon, a tiny little bit.
Oh, soupçon. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. A little bit of a soupçon.
Little bit of Galaxy. For flavors reminiscent of apricot, passion fruit, orange zest, guava, and grapefruit juice. Go get it. I don't know why that's the bit at the end. We'll got to throw that foreign word in there.
Wow. What way to be super English.
I suppose the accent under the sea should have given it away, shouldn't it? I'm literally looking at it at arm's length away. This tiny text. Why am I doing that? Good. Let's get into these beers. At least we'll roll back round for the mash.
It's quite orangey at the bottom.
Oh, it's a lovely color.
I mean, it looks like a worse color on the camera. It's more of a pleasant orange, whereas on the camera it looks like
kind of like a yellowy,
swampy. Yeah, the swampy orange. It smells like orange too. It's got a nice smell to it.
What kind of orange? Like classic sweet
I guess
navel sweet, not the tart.
I guess maybe a bit of orange peel, maybe a bit of pith.
So there's like an underlying bitterness.
Yeah. It sort of smells maybe a bit like well, I haven't eaten sweets for like 20 years, so but like kind of like chalky orange sweet, like kind of that
Oh,
kind of
interesting.
smell as well. It smells alright.
Chalky Orange Sweet was my stage name. I was not successful.
Hmm. And yeah, I think it brings over some of that like kind of artificial kind of sweetness into the taste. Whereas something like maybe your beer Ben is probably got that, you know, nat I say natural because it's a lot of it is derived from the hops, but like that kind of more natural kind of citrusy, um, you know, acidic, like kind of tropical, even maybe like smell to it and taste. But this I don't know, it doesn't feel like an authentic kind of like you know, fruity taste. Feels very much more like that kind of artificial, maybe even like tinny and metallic kind of taste that some of these alcohol-free beers have.
Interesting.
Which is understandable. It's hard to derive flavor and body and texture and everything that's good in a beer without the alcohol. But yeah, I mean, it's not cloying like kind of artificial sweetness. It's just a bit more wishy-washy and a bit like, oh, that doesn't taste like, you know, citrus kind of beers that I expect, or, you know, something that the flavor text at least evoked, like Blue Moon. Um, I mean, that very much has those, you know, the citrus, the coriander, the clove, you know, stuff you expect from like a, you know, wit beer like beer, but the coriander seed. Um, I'm not getting too much of it. There's not no really like, you know, pepperiness that's added into it.
Okay.
I guess I guess there's something there, which is it's something in addition to that. Kind of like it's like a melted Solero, where you know, where it's like, oh, this just tastes a bit watery, like you've watered down some sweet orange. Um, it's just not all there. I get what they're trying to do, but I think without the, you know, it's. I mean, I cracked the can a little bit ago, but there's barely any carbonation, which is probably what you want in a beer like this. So there's none of that effervescence and added to the fact that you can't really. There's something there, but it's not very overt, like kind of pepperiness
Okay.
from the coriander. Plus, on top of that, it's like, oh, it's just like wishy-washy sweetness and citrus. I don't know if you'd call them notes at this point. Um, it just doesn't really come together, but it's not horrible to drink. You know, it's palatable. It's not the flavors that I'd want from like a beer. Um, you know, those you know in like a wit beer where they're actually, you know, all singing off the same hymn sheet and it's all like done well. It's okay, but in like an alcohol-free beer where none of those elements are going to be, you know,
Big.
at the top of their game, it's just not a flavor that I'd want anyway. Yeah, I think you know I still have I think one can of the Wiper and True alcohol-free lager, and I still think that is the best the
I
gold standard at this point. You
it's
know.
it just tastes. It's like the only thing that like clues you in is the very tail end of the finish being kind of more abrupt because the sugars and like the alcohol just like give you a finish that you can't replicate without. Other than that, the taste curve of that fucking Wiper and True is so good.
Yeah.
Like if you continue drinking it quickly, you never like are in the space of that finish, and so it doesn't actually matter. I think that's what the key to that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We've spoken about that beer several times, and yeah, it remains the best version of an alcohol-free beer for me. But I can see what they're going for with this. And to a certain extent, they have got, those flavors of citrus and, a bit of pepperiness and coriander and maybe a bit of underlying, clove and stuff like that. But when you're, I don't know, maybe it's unfair of me, but when the flavor text is evoking like Blue Moon, which is just a classic, and it's like it's not the best beer, but like you're never going to be disappointed with that because it's so consistent. This doesn't really hold a candle, but I like that they're trying different styles and doing different things with them, and it's just I mean, I'll keep trying their beers, but I have yet to land on one that really, really solidifies itself as like one of my favorites so far.
Good. Well, the search continues. I suppose.
Great can art though.
Oh yeah,
that is nice.
Yeah, very striking.
Nice. Aadil.
Yeah.
The Jopen.
So it poured exactly like it looks. There's very little carbonation. Didn't have much of a head, but you do have like nice legs on it. Oh, the malts that come off of that nose. I'm not getting a lot of the smokiness, but a little bit of it. Mostly because I feel like the malts hit and then they're pulled away, less so that the smoke is overtaking it. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good beer. Oh. Sorry. It was just like, I mean, it's an 11 something, right? 11%? Is that what I said? 10.2. Sorry. I don't know how to round, apparently. It's got the body of a 10% beer. You get those malts, you get that thickness of the porter. The initial hit is this like, nice hearty porter. And actually the smoky and the peatiness comes near the end of the taste curve where you're like, oh, that's just like a good porter. And then it like comes in with this peaty, slightly smokiness, and like, oh wow, that's like it's complementary, but like another wave. So it's like a double, like a. Wait, is Dromedary the one that has two humps, or is that the one that has one hump? It's like a camel, the two hump camel versus the one. Normally our taste curve is one, but actually gives us a secondary hump. But actually, why I had to I interrupted myself was the smokiness is light, and it comes in sort of on the tail end of the second hump, and just gives revitalizes the taste. It's got this really long finish. The smoke doesn't stay too long. It's really light. It's still there. Yeah. When I say like two taste curves, it's not in your face. This is malty, clearly like strong, but doesn't feel that strong. A bit of sweetness. And then like I said, it like swoops down, and then you get this bit of an upfill, and actually the smokiness comes on that secondary curve right when it starts to tail off, and just this light smoky note. It's not like it's nothing like Lafroig or Lagavulin, like it's not like a punch of smoke. It's just like extending that secondary taste profile, and if you are like, what is this? Like, oh, it is smoky. And then when it's finally fading from my mouth, the thing that's lingering is a light smokiness. Because basically, I think the smokiness is like at a steady level, and then the other things are much higher, so you don't notice it. And then when they dip down, you're like, oh, this. And then when they finally fade, you're like, oh, it's light. Oh, you guys have never had Hickory Sticks, because that's a Canadian fucking...
No.
Oh. Okay, so next time, probably Christmas, I'm gonna. Yeah, they're sealed. They'll keep. We'll have to see each other in the first couple months of the year. That's fine. I will buy you Hickory Sticks because they are like imagine crisps but in thin sticks, and they're smoke flavored. They're great. They're very Canadian, but it's like the aftertaste of Hickory Sticks in the sense of like you mow on them because you want all the taste and the salt, and then afterwards you're sort of left with this lingering smokiness. This is obviously much more highbrow and much cleaner of a smoky taste than what's liquid smoke on potatoes that are covered in salt. But there's a thing there that I'm trying to describe. Yeah. So what's interesting is it lingers for so long. As I've been rambling about Hickory Sticks, I still have this hint of smoke even now. But it's like that low level. It's not like my mouth is tasting like smoke, but there's lingering taste. I like put my attention on it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's smoky. And that's kind of great because normally when you have smoked beers, they're like the smoke is being like put on center stage, and this is the opposite. It's like, oh, what? Wow, my brain is so insane. I was just like, oh, what if all the chorus girls were on fire? As in the smoke's in the background, and like if you pay attention, you can find out. Sorry. They're not on fire. They're just lightly smoking. Because it's not an in-your-face thing. But yeah, it's just lingering light smokiness. Like, it's less than like the lingering taste of a good beef jerky. That smokiness that you have. Again, I haven't had it for over a decade because of the vegetarian veganism. But like, I remember having like a good quality beef jerky, and the smoky taste lingered. It's the same like length of lingering, but like 3 steps down. So just this light smoke, but just is not leaving. And that's really great because I'm going to grab another sip. My mouth is full with this like lovely sweet malty porter. It's actually sweeter than I would have thought. But I know I won't need to reach. If I just want a taste in my mouth, I can leave this alone for like a few minutes because I know there'll be this like lovely, long, light finish. It's an excellent beer.
Good. I'll get into this Beak and Queer Brewing doubled up here. It had a big nose when I cracked the can. Lots of flavour coming out of the can, coming up top of the glass. Still coming through now. Lots of mango on that nose. Huge sort of amount of it coming through. You can see it's a solid block.
I'd say, it has no like. It's all haze.
Yeah, completely. Nice and smooth. So there's a lot of mango in that. A lot of mango coming out of the flavor, with then those bits of maybe the combination of things make it feel like it's more mango. But there's definitely lots of kind of bits going on, but the flavor is pretty solid. As soon as you hit that flavor kind of straight away, it doesn't really change. There's no kind of curve. There's no big sort of journey on this. It's very much, here is the flavor, and this is what you're going to get for the next 20 seconds. Does deepen a little bit and get a little bit more bitter towards the end, a little bit more grapefruity towards the back end of that. But it's nice, it's smooth, it's got a little bit of a chewiness to it as well. Not much, but a touch of chewiness. You're kind of like, tropical fruits in here, mango, bit of guava, great. Having that touch of chewiness to it as well, it's quite nice. So it's not just, it's not a fruit bomb at all. There's a lovely level of bitterness with that grapefruit in there as well to this. But it's very, very like solid as a flavor. I could see this kind of getting down to the end of the can and being exactly the same as when I first sipped it. It's such a strong set of flavors.
Right. So it might not have a taste curve, but what it has is this like just what you see is what you get. Brick of good flavor.
Absolutely, and it is a good flavor. It's there's a little bit of sweetness in there. There's a little bit of bitterness in there. It's quite punchy. It's just very, very solid. Again, with that like sort of medium body and that little bit of chewiness, it feels a bit solid as well. So it's kind of one I'm just going to dip back into just quickly, just to check. We'll see how it goes through this.
Because again, I'm super curious.
That sip versus the first one, really, really similar in what I'm getting through.
I mean, I think it's an unsung skill to give a taste throughout the taste, because you've had it and quaffed it, and your taste buds just have a natural thing. So to have the taste linger, but also it's super interesting if you feel like that way after the full tin, because that's actually deceptively hard to do. And if it's a good taste, that's great, right? Like we don't always need, despite as much as I talk about camels and dromedary taste curves, right? Like if it's a good taste and it just continues to be a good taste, that's great. It sounds like you're enjoying what it's
very much.
Yeah.
But we'll see if my palate changes at all. We chance. And I suppose we'll do that and move on to chats about games. I don't know if either of you want to chat about anything. I've got nothing this week.
Wow, I have got less than nothing. I've got like so my one thing that's happened in my life, which is the balance of my ADHD meds have actually given me so time blindness is a thing, right? So like not really understanding, literally like there's now and there's not now, and not really noticing the passage of time. The difference between when I was medicated the first time and then had to stop is I have a different med, which is a non-stimulant. That is slowly giving me a sense of time passing. And oh my God, I now understand scheduling in a different way, because I like just am aware of how little time is in a week or a day. It's wild. Why was I talking about time blindness? Oh man, ADHD is the worst. No, before that,
no games. You haven't played any games.
Oh yeah, I just haven't played. So, but like I could have told you on Monday. So this is the difference, right? On Monday, I could have told you, given my week, I wasn't going to play any games. When usually it's like, I'm sure there's time somewhere. It's like, no, this is a busy fucking week, and I'm going to be exhausted. I'm not relaxing with games, so I'm not. It's like this is one of the first weeks where I'm like, yeah, of course I'm not gonna. Like, this is the Aadil not playing a game for a month story is not changing today, but also, by actually being able to plan the things, I think I'll probably be able to slot in game time, because I will know what I need to do, and I like playing games, and it's not like I choose. It's not like I choose not to. It's just like the time fills up with stuff that I'm not controlling. It's like, oh no, I have like 4 or 5 things I need to do tomorrow to Monday. They're probably too much for a full workday, but they're not too much for, if I knew what I was doing, getting tomorrow done, and like actually like time blocking is the thing everyone talks about, and I just don't understand it, because up until very recently I didn't know how much time it would take to do a thing, because I just don't have that awareness. And now it's like, oh, I've spent months where I'm getting a growing awareness of time. Cool. I can definitely edit photos / do some photography, do me stuff this weekend, because I need to do some generic packing from stepladder room. But also I know that I've got this lingering review that I'm sure is ruining our ability to get more codes, and I wanted to play this game, and it just became a monkey on my back because I never like find the time. But now I know that like this is a week where I just don't have a bunch of stuff on the weekend. I know that it just won't take 2 days, which means I can plan to play a game. And I'm sure as soon as I start playing a game, like, right, relaxation, dopamine. I love playing games, and so I'm looking forward to letting myself do the thing to remind myself that doing the thing is good for my mental health and etc. So,
Yeah.
long-winded, slightly medical story version of I don't have anything to talk
about. That's fair. I've just not really been fussed this week myself. Just lots of things to do. I've done lots of CP. Unfortunately, I've done lots of CPD this week on various topics. So I've just been sat at my computer listening to people talk about topics and things about architecture and health and safety and business practices and all of those kinds of things. So it's like, I'll just do that for a bit, I suppose. I've got like 10 more hours to fill in this year. Nothing really, but it stifles finding the time to play something, because after a couple of hours in an evening after a day of work of doing those kinds of things, I'm like, that's good. Playing a game is the last thing on my mind. I did go to play Tron Identity on the Steam Deck last night and pulled the Steam Deck out, turned it on. No, battery's gone. I'm like, for fuck's sake.
Oh,
I'll put it on charge, I suppose, and then I'll play it in a week's time when it will go. Don't need to charge it up. It's just drained straight down. Don't worry about it. Charge it up again. So yeah, that's been my week, unfortunately. So to save this episode, Lucy, as I said, a lot of weight on your shoulders.
Yeah.
You played nothing, I imagine.
Close to. But I have dipped back into a game that I started a few months ago when you sent over a code for it. It's called Gestalt, Steam and Cinder.
Oh, okay.
Which is a beautiful pixel art Metroidvania. Everyone scratch Metroidvania pixel art off your bingo cards for Lucy's game of choice. Yeah, it's a Metroidvania. But what's different about this one is that it's more like split up into like kind of zones rather than like just one really big, sprawling map. So that's the biggest point of difference between this and most like kind of Metroidvania games. It's not exactly like is it Order of Ecclesia that uh kind of like it has like a mission structure at the start and then all these separate levels. It's not quite that, but it is, the different zones are very distinct from one another. It feels decent to play. The combat's nice. Or what's different is that you got like your melee attack, and you've also got like a long range, like gun kind of weapon. So that's like not all melee focus, so that's a bit different. Right off the bat of this game though, it's set in like this steampunk world, and it's given me a lot of flashbacks to the game Iconoclast.
Oh,
which was also a Metroidvania game.
Yeah.
Very wordy, very chatty, very Lord Dump kind of stuff. And I just didn't care for the story in Iconoclast. I thought it was too up its own arse and too heady and too like, oh, we're using all these proper nouns, and it's like you have to, kind of like read in between the lines and think, oh, what does this mean? What does this high order of this and that and everything else? And this is like, oh, science experiments gone wrong, and how humans, always, push too far and end up screwing everything up. And I was just like, I don't care. I don't care. I just want to slash at things, and it's like I don't need story in a Metroidvania game, especially. And this dumps a lot on you. And it was at this point, I think I'm just going to skip through everything because I genuinely don't care. I just hope I don't get lost in the midst of like, oh, I missed what this character said, like where I'm meant to go, or
So,
what I'm meant to stand on underneath the clock. I
this
don't.
is it's difficult when a
Mm,
Metroidvania tries to weave in those narrative elements because
mhm,
in and of itself, a Metroidvania should be quite well signposted map wise and
mhm,
sort
mhm.
of ability wise, depending on if it's kind of one of those Metroidvanias where you need ability X to get through gate one sort of
Yeah,
thing. So it
seems
should
well
be
posted,
signposted.
signposted in that sense, and I don't think it's going to do like the weird stuff that like normal Castlevania games do, where it's like, oh, you need to get to the clock at like 10 past midnight or something like that when the chime strikes 8. I don't think that's going to do this,
Right.
and I think like like kind of separation of like the map and like areas, I think probably be a bit easier to like know where I need to go and
Mhm.
where I need to come back to and stuff like that, and retracing my steps shouldn't be too difficult. But yeah, it's too much story and I don't really care for it. But everything around that so far, I think I've played it for like 2.5 hours. Apparently it's a short game. Um Everything around that hopefully will just slot into place. But yeah, it's fun. It's not I think it's a bit unfortunate because this year, one of the best Metroidvanias of all time came out in um, the Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown. That came out, and that's just on like another level in terms of like platforming,
Mm,
exploration,
mm,
combat. So this is, you know, just circumstance. It's not as good, but it's still it's got a decent amount to you know, sink your teeth into. It's just, oh, I wish it wasn't so chatty.
Mm.
You know,
right, right.
just give me the mechanics. I don't need the lore dump around why she has a gun or whatever. Just let me play the game. So yeah, but yeah, uh, it's I mean, Metroidvania's a tenner penny, especially on like Steam.
Mm,
So
Mm.
um, it's easy to pick up one, but what makes the difference if it's any good? And this one seems quite good
Right.
so far. So yeah,
so
um,
is it kind of quite standard in terms of its kind of combat and stuff like that, or are you getting kind of abilities that allow you to access different areas, which affect
yeah,
kind of
and
like combat and stuff like that?
Mm.
Is it kind of building in that sort of way? So suddenly you get this like
mhm,
you can roll out of the way. And suddenly it turns into
mm.
like a dash or something instead, and then you can dash through gates or something.
um, it's it. I don't think it does the thing as well as like Prince of Persia, where it's like every ability that you get is also like a combat thing
Right.
and a
Hmm.
traversal thing. So it doesn't do that as well. But um, I guess I'm still quite early on, so I haven't unlocked a lot of things. But I think the most things that I've unlocked now have been more combat focused.
Okay.
Um, because there is like a skill tree, um, like quite an extensive one at that by the looks of it. So steadily plugging away. So this is definitely got more. Well, I guess it depends what pick your poison. Like, do you really want the like very RPG level of like stats and like different um different weapons doing like different DPS and stuff like that that is sort of like Castlevania has?
Hmm.
Or do you just want, okay, I don't even want any combat like Animal Well. This probably sits like in the middle of like those of that scale. So yeah, I think it's definitely going for more Castlevania rather than Metroid. If that makes sense to anybody, where it's like, okay, we're
Yeah.
definitely leaning more into like, okay, skill tree
Yeah.
stats and stuff like that. But yeah,
Combat
it's not
tree
it's
opening versus like exploration opening. They both.
yeah, but it's not too heavy on like the RPG stuff, which is nice. Um, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it so far. I mean, just I guess you could look at the trailer on Steam, and
Yeah.
you could probably gauge if it's your kind of thing or not.
Right.
it's not really thrown up much challenge for me. But you know, I don't even know at this point because
you're a pro
flex,
ass gamer and you don't care about winning.
Yeah. Like I played Prince of Persia on hard, and it was still a breeze. So it's like, don't listen to my judgment of difficulty, but it doesn't seem difficult. Yeah. So yeah.
Always the pro
and that's
gamer.
not a flex because I'm bad at other games. It's just that I'm particularly decent at platformers.
Yeah. So let's go through. So platformers, Metrovania is very good at. Lucy just has skills. But Titanfall. Also very good at. You're just good at games. It's okay.
Yeah.
No. I just mean don't be so self-effacing. You're good at games. You've played enough of them. Like it's fine.
True.
Right? So
true. But am I?
Own it.
I don't know. I think particular types of games I am probably pretty good at, but I don't know. Would I be good at like a third person? What even multiplayer games are in third person? Like I'm no good at like Gears, say, or FIFA. So you know.
Oh yeah, but those aren't real games.
Scale. True. Well, Gears is.
Well, FIFA's just a lottery game, right? Like.
I'm no good at FIFA Ultimate Team, opening cards and spending money. I'm definitely no good at that.
But I bet if I gave you £200,000 that you could only spend on FIFA, I bet you'd be great at FIFA.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Same,
yeah. So you're great at FIFA. There's an artificial wall.
It's
Sorry, I just hate.
Some things are very reliant on the things like the control scheme for games.
Mm.
I was finding this last week with as I have pursued or persevered, let's say, with Jedi Fallen Order 2 Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
And actually the game has got better.
Oh, good. That's actually
it's
really
opened
good
up a
to
little
hear.
bit nicer.
Yeah.
However, the I think the thing that I had a big issue with, which was combat, is persisting a little bit because the game wants you to understand that like lightsaber abilities are on L1. So you could hit square, constant, just do attacks. Yeah. You can parry, you can block. But then if you want to do a lightsaber skill, your parry is L1, but then hold it and press square, and you might do like a sweeping attack, or dependent on your lightsaber stance. Force abilities. Stance.
Okay.
Lightsaber stance.
I mean, so same thing. What is a stance but just a toxic masculinity version of a dance?
What was a Star Wars dancing game?
Just jabber wobbling constantly.
Oh no! I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Was it on Kinect?
Yeah, it was a Kinect game. At least I think you were talking about a Kinect game.
This is why no one knows what it is.
Yeah,
because of course it was like just a Kinect game.
Yeah, it was Star Wars. It was probably just called Star Wars Kinect, and they're like, we can't do combat, so we'll make you like move like a Jawa and point like a stormtrooper. I don't know what the fucking.
Just got Max Grebo playing in the background, and just fucking Twi'leks just going all over the shop.
Okay, so I don't know if we. I'm sure we've
Star Wars.
Yeah, look, it was just called Star Wars, right? Yeah. I hate that I know this.
Yeah.
Do you? Sorry.
No, I think it's Kinect Star Wars.
Oh, sorry.
Specifically.
Yeah, not Star Wars Kinect, but Kinect Star Wars. My bad. Yeah. On the Max Grebo, etc. Do you know the name of the genre of music that is played?
Yeah, I do. It's something to do with jizz.
No, it's just called jizz. Canonically, fucking George Lucas want to be like, well, it's not jazz. It's in the future. Let's call it jizz. So when you go to Mos Eisley Cantina, you're like, let's just have a few rounds of jizz before I go home.
Enjoy a beer, listen to some jizz.
Yeah.
Get it in my ears. Brilliant. Yeah. Exactly what we need right now.
Oh man. You know what this party needs is a fuck ton more jizz.
More jizz. Absolutely. Max Grebo bringing his jizz.
Sorry, I will never not find that funny as a reference. Sorry.
In like the year 2000s,
absolutely.
And early.
Everything fell apart.
Early 10. Yeah, because it's
this is the real millennium bug.
Oh god, jizz.
Games used to take risks.
Jizz.
There used to be creativity. Like, come on, a Kinect Star Wars? That would never happen now.
No,
And the world is just worse for
I
it.
will push back a bit against calling Kinect Star Wars creativity.
Uh,
No, so
okay, daring.
no, I'll take it back. The premise
Risky.
of Star Wars on the Kinect is morally bankrupt. It's just like, how do we sell this thing, Star Wars badge?
Mm-hmm.
But the way they've decided to do it, entirely creative. Like, oh yeah, Star Wars dancing.
Yeah.
I mean, but think
Who made this game?
If Star Wars at that point, Lucas Games probably didn't exist at that point.
Oh no, it's
right?
no. Lucas Games hadn't.
It's published by Lucas Arts and Microsoft Studios.
So Lucas
so Lucas Arts didn't exist. It did exist.
I think in the like, if I get it right, the like early / mid 2000s, Lucas Arts started licensing games because they couldn't make everything in house, right? So they were Lucas Arts labeled, but different people made stuff. I have no idea if, sorry, what was it called? Just the game? Star Wars Kinect Star Wars.
Kinect, sorry.
Crucially, Kinect first.
Yeah.
Was there ever a Kinect 4 game?
A Kinect 4 game.
Because that they're missing. They missed a trick.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine like the idea of like trying to do your body movements, etc., with this like suboptimal tracking, but you're just trying to put a peg in a 2D plane that exists in 3D space? Like, you're playing Kinect 4 on a Kinect, so you're like dropping the thing and it misses because you've fucked up the depth, so you just drop the little checker behind it. And there's no extra rules. It's just playing Kinect 4 and it's a bad 3D space.
I was thinking you drop it in like the wrong row and then just open up for someone else to win. Yeah. That would be so frustrating. Yeah. Maybe that's why it doesn't exist.
Kinect 4? Yeah, no, it sounds awful.
Either that, or it's like a Pony Island sort of Inscription type game, and you place that like third fucking disc, and suddenly the game turns into something completely different because you opened the fourth.
I mean, the real answer is Kinect 1 didn't sell, so they couldn't have the sequels 2 and 3. So there's no way Kinect 4 could have.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. But right, two things I was thinking.
Leave my Kinect
number
2.0 alone. It's great.
Point number one I was thinking of just then was, is there a Wii Star Wars like lightsaber fighting game?
Oh,
because if LucasArts are in the mode of franchising stuff out, of doing funny kind of weird things, surely there's like a Jedi lightsaber battles or a lightsaber duel kind of Wii game where you have the fucking remote.
Is it called Wii Lightsaber?
Lightsaber duels, yes. It's exactly what Ben said. Star Wars, The Clone Wars, lightsaber duels.
Oh, okay.
A Wii fighting game.
Well, perfect. It's in my. I wonder whether it's in my head somehow. And that's why it's come to me so easily.
Do you think you've played it, or you've just seen a commercial or something?
Yeah, years ago.
No, but do you think you've played it?
Absolutely.
Or do you think you just saw?
No, I don't think I played it.
It's part of the zeitgeist. This game, everyone knows this one. IGN gave it a 5.3.
Wow.
IGN in mid 2000s giving a 5.3. This is the height of IGN being told that they only give 7s, isn't it? No, it might be before that.
Yes. No. Yeah.
7 and above. IGN lambasting is what, like 2008 and later, maybe.
Yeah, early 2010s, maybe. Yeah.
Based on the trailer, I'd say that's probably fair.
I mean, we all know how accurate the Wii. I actually think Wii Sports was the pinnacle of the Wii in terms of like the attenuation and attention of design to the minimal movements you could do. So like this was me post under living with some friends, and one of them bought. So I provided a projector that I bought aftermarket, whatever. Like, so we had a projector on the wall in our basement, and then Henry bought the Wii. The problem was it was a Calgary basement, so it was like here, which means the first time we played.
To how Max Rebo brings the jizz?
No.
Okay.
So what it meant was the first time we were playing tennis, there was a moment where someone tried to smash it and just punched the ceiling and bled. Day one of Wii ownership. Because like it was this tall, right? Like, so like I had the projector on the ground covering wall. So we had this huge wall of like 720p, maybe even 480p. I can't remember how like affordable a projector was at the time of that. But the Wii was only doing that thing. But the problem was it was actually asking you to do these big movements, and we didn't have the space. So then we realized to play these games, we had to figure out the mechanisms. So turns out the best way to putt on like Wii Golf is you take the Wiimote, because you need to do a minimal movement. So you could just hold it and slowly do this, like just. Yeah, I'm aware.
Of course.
Because if you just like move the Wiimote up and down slowly and increase your pace, at some point the mechanism would trigger and you would do the lightest touch. Because if you tried to just putt, you'd probably knock it out of the hole. But if you just like try to attenuate to the gyroscope, you would move. Nothing's happening. So then you'd hit. If you were doing it like on the right type of increase, you would just hit the ideal minimal movement. And then as soon as we figured that out, we just started playing Wii Sports with the most nonsensical poses and just trying like, how little can we move? So as soon as like it became clear that the Wiimote wasn't tracking regular, like was limited in like, are you actually swinging? I was like, okay, so how do we do this thing as lazy fucking idiot semi-stoner people in a basement? And so then it became this weird thing where we're like we were just playing a different game but scoring really well.
There's an alternate universe where the Wii could have been the worst thing that happened to gaming. Because I hated the Wii. Whenever someone said, "Do you want to play the Wii?" I was like, "Absolutely not. I want to play a video game. Not this nonsense. Never owned one. Yeah, there's a universe where those kind of games just became ubiquitous, and the Star Wars Jedi lightsaber Kinect Wars dancing would have been like every game we would have got.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad it died. That whole Kinect.
But Lucy, think of all the people in old folks' homes which could bowl again.
Had been missing it.
Do you remember those advertisements that showed like just a fuck ton of like kind of airbrushed old people just like pretending to bowl and being like, yeah? It's like, nah, your back already broke, my dude. Like that's not gonna happen. Bowling was the thing that I figured out the most because it turns out like spin just had to do with a wrist flick. So you could, again, just sort of sit in your spot and like do that. No big wind up, whatever. Because you needed to give it enough power forward so it would throw it. And then the spin was literally like you would get the right spin more consistently by just flicking your wrist and pretending you weren't bowling. So you sit on your chair and your friends are like doing the bowling thing and you're like, meh. And you're like, oh, look, another strike, because you put yourself all the way in the far end and gave it so much spin, and it was such a like rudimentary algorithm that the spin would be very consistent. So you pick either side and just flick your wrist, and it would spin into the middle. I was like, oh, cool.
I would have just been sat there on the sofa drinking and just ignoring everybody
I think
else.
if my housemates at the time weren't also interested in like just. I lived with nerds, right? So it was just like, so like Ian was the first one to figure out the like, oh, if we just like raise and lower the Wiimote slowly and then quicker, we will get the ultimate putt. the ultimate like the smallest putt. And then from that point on, we were like, okay, so what else can we do? And it was like, oh, it turns out. So yeah, we started playing Wii Sports, breaking a sweat. By the end of it, we were scoring like the highest scores in any of the games. Like, tennis was the one that was the most difficult, just because it's a bit reactive. The other ones, it was just like, oh no, there's a way to like optimize your body movement, and then nerds don't like moving, so we just figured that out. But again, that didn't last that long.
Video games.
Well, yeah. So the problem was like that's
Call of Duty.
really good when you're like getting stoned with your friends, but you're not gonna do it for the rest of the night. Yeah.
So it's Call of Duty.
But not everyone in the house had a good PC.
Crop of Duty in this case.
Crop of Duty.
Yeah.
Ah, well done.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Nice. Good. Where do we get to? Who knows?
Call of Duty, always the roads always end up converge at Call of Duty.
I roam. Absolutely.
Do they?
For the last year, I'd say, since I've been playing it. I hate that game. It's so stupid. I have been playing more.
Yeah,
of it.
You hate it because you play it too much. I could tell. But the way, so for our audio listeners, as Lucy said that, she was like running her hand over her face and be like, I hate that game.
Yeah. But I did just be like, why am I still playing with an assault rifle when even a shotgun can kill you from halfway across the map now? Because these games are just broken. So I'm like, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Because like,
can you still be like as good as snipers? Apparently,
I know before this version came out, there was lots of chat from us about being Nicki Minaj in pink bikinis, being Groot, being Snoop Dogg, all of those.
Yeah,
I persisted through with the new version, or is that like a Warzone specific?
No, I think there's still like stupid costumes in this one that I'm seeing. Like I've seen a zombie man or something like that, and just.
That kind of makes sense, but because Black Ops has always been like the zombie mode kind of game, isn't it? So
yeah, but Ben, this is just the start. By they have seasons on the Game Pass. By season 5, it'll be like, I don't know, Kermit the Frog running through the map or something like that. So it's just it's ridiculous.
Just walking around with the samurai sword, just like
yeah, and they have this thing where it's like you can literally just run around with like a bat, or in this one it's a power drill, and it's just like people just zip around the map like it's like people have like cheat codes, and it's just like, yeah, this is no longer a shooting game. This is just like, oh, run around with a power drill game, and you're just like, I just want to shoot people, like in the good old timey wars, back in World War II.
If they did include the Kermit the Frog, I would just go onto it and just be Kermit the Frog on Warzone, just to drop in off of the plane and just watch the limbs going everywhere as he's just flying down, and then as soon as you just don't even open the parachute, just die and start a new game just to watch the same thing again.
What is it? It's not easy being green or whatever.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows? Classic Kermit.
Yeah.
I wish I had my banjo in this room. I could have done a full rendition. It's one of the few songs I still remembered how to play.
Good. We started on Gestalt. We should, I suppose, finish on it unless you've got any other games.
So I just wanted to say, the one game I've been playing consistently this year has been Magic the Gathering in person.
Yeah.
Because I finally co-opted friends to play. And so I've done a couple pre-releases and a lot of Commander. Why I say this is because if any of our listeners are interested, one of the big pieces of news from the CEO's web chat, whatever the fuck you call these things, not quite a quarterly report because it's like a chat, is that they are apparently developing a new program to play Commander, which is the 4-player 100-card singleton deck. Like, all the cards are legal, which of course can't come to hasn't. When they made Arena, which is the client that I played most, right? It's 1v1, and they just didn't make it. it was very clear that it was going to be very hard to add extra players to, just because of like all the intricacies, and the lack of communication. Because Commander is the like community format, right? So the whole point is it's casual, and not everyone's playing to like. A lot of people are playing to like make their deck do a dumb thing rather than win on the spot, because you can't really guarantee that, because when there's one person, you can just focus your attacks. When there's 3 people who are your enemy, you kind of have to make peace with literally the best you can aim for is a 25% win rate, right? Because if everyone else has got a good solid deck and approach, blah blah blah. But Commander is what has been selling all the cards,
right?
So basically, for the past like 4 or 5 years, there's been like clearly cards that have in the mainstream and bonus sets that are made for Commander, not that set, because they want people in Commander to buy it. And now they're saying we will do a digital Commander, but it'll be a separate program.
Oh.
Right. So here's the thing. Magic is a collectible card game. And so when it started, you bought the cardboard. And then Magic Online came, which was actually ahead of its time. I won't bore people with the details, but Magic Online is a program that looks like Windows 98. But you can play Commander 4-player, and you have a chat window. So it's not quite... So the big thing about Commander is you like do a lot of politicking. Because in 1v1, you can swing out and this person... You know exactly this person's like creatures, what will happen on the crackback. With 4 players, you don't know if they will swing out at you because they have the same calculation. It just becomes really hard to... You can't predict that everyone will swing at you because they have the same calculation of then the other 3 players can swing at them. So what makes Commander interesting is the huge card pool and the fact that you're like... You have no consistency, but also you have to like talk and negotiate. So you're like, so this guy's the threat, but I have this spell that will like let me hit them for like 20 damage, and they have 40 life at the start. Also, Commander, yeah, you have double the life as regular. But like, you could do that, and you say, I'll do this if you just won't swing at me on your turn, so that I have the space to then untap my blockers, and you won't kill me. So I will help kill the person who's currently arch enemy if you will deign to not hit me, and then it's all politicking, so it might not happen. Someone might renege on a deal, blah blah blah. So that's one of the reasons why it's really popular. It's kind of casual, but you also have this like chat layer. How that gets replicated on the digital medium is not quite clear, because if you have voice chat, then you have trolls. If you just have text chat, people might miss things. If you have less than that, like Arena, you have no real communication, which is fine when it's 1v1, because all I'm trying to do is kill you, and all you're trying to do is kill me. So if all I can say is your go, to be like, make up your fucking mind, which is a trolly thing to do, that's what they do in Arena. But they've not only... So that's like the problem of making the thing, but now they've said we're looking into ways of making the thing. But also, if you have physical cards, you bought the collection, then you go on MitGo, the Windows 95 thing, and you had to like acquire cards. Then Arena comes around, and if you want to do standard or these 1v1 formats, it's the best thing around if you want to play consistently, because you can just find an opponent, because the whole world's your oyster. But its economy is really shitty, and so you've had to like spend real dollars or real time to try and get the cards. And now they're saying Commander, which again has all of the cards ever printed minus a small banned list, and like the reason why Arena doesn't have like some of the other formats is because it's too hard to code. So either they're spending a lot of money to code things that they pretended they couldn't on other clients, or it's going to be like a fraction of the thing. But also, I almost guarantee you, given that Hasbro has been basically as a corporation floated by Wizards of the Coast. So Magic and D&D are the things that have the only positive things in the past 3 years. I might be wrong. I don't know about this year, but the previous 2-3 years, Hasbro has lost money on every other part of their portfolio except Wizards of the Coast. And D&D doesn't make a lot of money because you buy the books once. Magic, cardboard, and Magic digital have been making them a lot of money, to the point where Hasbro has a positive portfolio. So I don't see a world where they come out with a new client that's separate and they let you keep your cards from another one. Also, how does that work? Which means I think what they're hoping is people really want to play Commander online, and will buy their collection a fourth time.
Yeah.
It's super interesting. Again, this is like super early days, but they said we are actively looking in and developing this. It could, so if they have been doing this on the sly, it could be out in a year and a half. If they're saying we've pivoted to this, it could be 3 years. But if you can't import your cards, and also the card pool isn't the whole card pool, I think it might flop, right? Like,
absolutely.
Right. It's just that's why I was going in all those details, because these are the moving parts that matter, right? Like, the reason why Commander's popular is because if you've been playing the game for a long time, you get to use all your cards. While in like Standard, every couple years things rotate out. So what do you do with those old cards? You play these legacy formats. Commander, you don't even have to have the best ones, because it's like not it's more communal versus competitive. Great. But that means if I like have a deck, actually have a deck I've planned, and they're like, here's a Commander client. I'm like, oh, 60% of this deck doesn't exist on your client. Would I continue? So, like, given that like it's an intricate game of a lot of moving parts that they literally have said on MitGo and Arena, we can't easily add things because it takes a lot of effort, because we have to make sure the rules work. Because the rules are consistent. This is why I like the game a lot. The rules are consistent, but also coding digital objects to do the rules is very hard, because the rules are 30 years of rules that have slightly shifted, but also cards that were made for a specific environment that now have to make sure they don't, if you code it slightly wrong, it will do the wrong thing. So it's just a really interesting point for people who are fans of either digital or physical Magic, because they're saying they want to make the most profitable, most popular format, but also the format that has literally the most cards on digital, and they're saying it will be separate. It's like, oh, this is basically me saying, games and capitalism, I bet this will get fucked, because they won't import things. Like, the stuff I have on Arena won't matter. If I had an MitGo account, that won't matter. They'll want me to pay for these cards again. But also, I almost guarantee you, they can't, out of the gates, make most Commander cards work together, because otherwise they would have imported them to Arena when Arena was popular. So I just like, it's a super interesting moment where in a year and a half or 3 years or whenever this comes out, I'd be very curious to like come back to this and see how prescient or wrong I might have been about like these risks, because I just don't see how the computing works. So I just want to like flag this, because I'm like, flag the Magic crap. And the point is, like, they've said there's a new thing. It doesn't really make sense how it could work to emulate what they said. But also, yes, digital card games or digital stuff is sometimes harder, because things you can say in the real world, you can just say. In digital, you have to code every step. So like in Magic, you could say, I'm demonstrating a loop, and there's an infinite loop where you're like, this does this, does this, does this. If none of you have an interaction on these steps, that will just happen, and I will win. I'll slowly do damage to you. I'll slowly make infinite mana of one type, and because I have infinite mana of one type, I will make infinite mana of another type because of this other card, blah, blah, blah. And humans can understand that, and you just like show them, these are the moves and these are moves. With computers, you have to like show the program. And it turns out, like, actually in competitive formats that you can do in Arena and paper, some of the loops you can do, because Arena has like a timer, you can't and because you can't tell the machine, this is a loop. You have to do the loop. And the loop might be 17 steps. And it's like, oh, I don't have time on my account because they, like, understandably say you can't just take forever. It's like, I actually can't do the loop to win based on Arena's boundaries. But if I ever was at a table and said, I'm just going to do this 100,000 times, they would understand and you'd win. So it's like, it's a really interesting notion of, like, the digital facsimile isn't a facsimile, right? Because I cannot communicate the information in the same way. And so Commander, because it has all of the cards, there are a lot of people who design decks on these weird win conditions, weird loops. This is why I'm super fascinated by it, because it's like, oh, on the cards, I can say, I do this thing. Can you stop it? No, I've won. But the computer will need me to do the thing, and unless they figure out a way of, like, capturing a loop, I will have to continue doing the thing.
Yeah.
But what if it's
I suppose it's kind of reliant on the other players understanding what you're doing to potentially, like, concede, right? So I've had this a little bit with the Pokemon TCG Pocket, which I've been playing for a few weeks, where, and again, similar kind of game in terms of the card collection, there's the battle system and those kinds of things, where you can very quickly see in that game whether you have fallen that far behind in it. And actually very easy to just concede and just be like, cool, yeah, you absolutely, you've won. And nothing is kind of then further played out. There's no kind of chance to claw it back. You just know at a point, Pokemon is very much just a numbers fucking game.
Yeah, Pokemon's...
And you're like, if I haven't drawn the card, it ain't going to work. I've just got to concede. And just the way that game is kind of set up in the decks that you can build and things, there are some very meta decks that are just running rampant through Pocket at the moment, just based on the cards that are available. But it at least allows you to be able to read that very early and be like, cool, I can see where this is going. Goodbye. I'm just going to see. I can understand how that would be difficult with 4 players instead of just the 2, because it's very easy to just go, there's one opponent, they're going to beat me. Fine, I'm just going to drop out of this. And the kind of the system and coding that they would need to understand that kind of everyone being like, great, we can see that this player is in this loop and that is going to just destroy everybody. Yeah. So actually all of us need to concede, but 2 of us have conceded, but 1 hasn't for this turn. Yeah. So we then all need to just keep playing until all 3 have conceded and there's one winner. So yeah, very, very difficult to transcribe that across to a digital sort of platform. But a bit disappointing that they're not bringing that into Arena to be able to be like, this is Magic the Gathering digital, right? So everything you want to do with MTG is here, because they absolutely see that there are a million fucking suckers out there who will buy every goddamn card again.
Yeah.
In a 4.
So I actually think it's even version. Worse, is because Arena was built. So MitGo literally does everything. So one of the problems with Magic, one of the great things about Magic is there's like several steps to a turn, and every time you do a thing, everyone has a round of priority where they can do things at instant speed. So on MitGo, again, in the Windows 98 looking thing, right? They coded it so every possible thing, there's a stop and priority passes. But the way they dealt with like the problem of what if someone takes so long is every game, a person has a player timer, like a chess clock. So if you hit F6, you are saying during this player's turn, I'm going to do nothing. Because every time someone does a thing, you technically have a second of priority where you can choose to do nothing or something. And saying I won't do nothing will burn your clock. So there's F6ing. That's a very good facsimile to what in paper, a lot of the zone, like those moments, people, because it's paper and it's not written into rules that you have to follow. Someone says, I go to combat, I declare attackers. Like, no, hold on a second. I wanted to do something before you went to combat, because what they did was they didn't say, I'm done my main phase 1, I'm moving to combat. And then everyone gets a right under a priority, and they're like, I would like to do something there. And in paper, you understand that like you glossed over that, so that rewind is okay. Because a lot of strategy is when do you do the thing, and everyone gets priority on everyone's turn before it switches phases. And often it's like in these like right before combat is when you do the thing, because if you do it, because once combat starts, someone declares attackers, and there's nothing to change about that, and some things happen when someone declares attackers, right? And so that makes sense on MitGo, forcing you to choose to either abscond from decisions or have to regimentally do that. But it's really cumbersome, and the client was old, and so Arena basically was, how do we make Magic more like Hearthstone? So they focused on the 1v1, animations, slickness, but I almost guarantee you the design, like back-end design, was never thinking about like 1v1v1, like 4-player attacking. Yep. And so I'm pretty sure what happened was they were like, there is no conceivable way where we can make this. Because again, it's a client where there's like battlefield. Like literally, there's no space for other players. I'm sure what happened was they were chasing the Hearthstone dollars digitally that they asked their developers to make something that could be Magic as Hearthstone, while Paper Magic had been switching to the most popular format being 1v1v1 4, right? Right. And so that client just at its skeleton cannot do that. And I think they've probably spent the last 3, 4, 5 years more trying to figure out if they could do that, because I think Arena is making them enough money. Because I know how computing works, I just don't think that client can easily expand to 4. So now they have to make a new client. And so the question is, are they going to try and do kind of like things that are less easy, which is like, you have these cards in Arena, we'll import them one-off, we'll sync them, etc., which would be the consumer-friendly thing. But given that Hasbro kind of just has been always pressuring Wizards of the Coast to extract money from as much money as they can from their customers, I think they're gonna gamble that because Commander is the most popular paper format, it'll be popular enough that they can people will buy their cards again. This is where I think the interesting thing happens, is because it's called Magic the Gathering, and actually I think the Gathering part does a lot more work than the digital clients are relaying, because I have tried to play Commander on MitGo and I hate it. I like sitting around having a beer with my friends, whatever, like playing the game. Our digital client won't do that. Right? And so I suspect they're thinking Commander's so popular, people will just buy into the digital client, and that probably is true in the short run. But if I'm having to rebuy cards, and especially the cards of the entire, like even if they like code all the things, which is apparently an impossible task because they won't put things on Arena because they don't have the resources. But even if they just somehow magically make, pun intended, 30,000 cards appear on a new client that all work seamlessly. I like playing with people. The whole point of Commander is you are choosing a less competitive form of play of a very competitive game, so you can like have this weird politicking conversational thing. I just don't think that the digital version will be a good facsimile of that.
Yeah.
So like this will be super interesting. Anyway, we have burned like 20.
Oh, it's a good,
but like
good chat, absolutely.
Yeah, but like
it's good to be able to get these things out and be able to rant about the stuff that.
Well, what I wanted to sort of, the main idea is like sometimes even if you rule for rule model a game, you aren't making the game in the internet or in virtual space, because part of the game is the like embodiment of the players. Right. If I play Magic every Monday with my friends Tudor and Joel. A Commanders of 4-player format. We have 3 regulars. Sometimes we have more, but like we make do. I wouldn't enjoy it if we were at our computers doing the exact same thing, right? Because part of it is we go to the head of Steam. Their beers are okay and overpriced. But we get there, and they have told us we can just have a big table in the upstairs because they don't really open the upstairs. Great. I want to hang out with my friends. That's why I play Commander. But also, that's kind of like what everyone says, is Commander is this social format. This is why I think it's super interesting that they're like, we'll make a digital client. I'm like, do you understand why Commander's popular? I'm not sure you do, but I do think you know there's money there. So this could be like the most asinine version of a thing where they're like, we gave you some of the cards, you should be happy. We don't understand why the thing happens. That's why I wanted to, like, at this stage where they've just said we're doing a thing, I think it's super interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Good. A good point to finish us out this week, I think. Let's return back to beers for the episode. We'll come back to you first, Lucy, for Mash Gang's Further.
Yeah, it grew on me. I think once you meet these alcohol-free beers on their terms, you do find something to enjoy. Yeah, it's been decent just to sup on it. I think the coriander helped for the fact that it's like, there's not much carbonation in it, but still got a bit of zing and zest to it. So yeah, it's all right. It's decent. It's I think once I got over that, like, kind of, this is like a slightly artificial citrusy taste to it, that a lot of these alcohol-free beers have. Just it just feels a bit off and a bit weird and a bit like, it doesn't feel like a beer. But once I got over that, I think, yeah, it's enjoyable. As I said, straight away it's palatable. It doesn't taste bad. Wasn't like that green one. So so yeah, this is it's good. It's good. It's good.
Good. I think that's the key almost with a lot of alcohol-free beers. It's finding an additional kind of flavor profile or an element that can be brought in to make it either relate back to different kinds of beers or to give it its own sort of flavor, because a lot of them are just poor facsimiles of pale ales and things like that, where the flavor profile is just dialed back so much that it's like water with a hint of flavor to it.
Yeah.
So if they're able to get in something that's a bit stronger to push through and say, actually, yes, it is like coriander seed, because it gives you that level of flavor that you kind of get in a wit beer with the different yeasts that you're experiencing in that. And actually, we've just substituted that with coriander seed instead. Great. Bring in different kinds of ingredients to try and ape different types of flavor or different sort of mouthfeels and things like that. That makes sense for alcohol-free beers.
Yeah, it's right. It's reminded me a bit of like a flavored tea.
Okay.
Like I'm drinking chamomile tea before bed. That's what it's reminded me of now. So, which is great when you just like, I didn't want to drink today, or have alcohol at least. It's just like, yeah, ready for bed now.
I suppose
Nice
it'd be interesting when we
alcohol-free
get
beer.
to that point where alcohol-free beers and say like hot water combine almost, to see if there is something that is again a touch closer to beer, so you're getting a bit more flavor out of some of these. But I think the processes of producing both of those are
very
probably
different.
quite different. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I think you've got a point of like more hop forward. So like you don't get the long finish with an alcohol-free beer because a lot of that has to do with the remaining sugars that have been like partially alcoholized, right? But you could do a thing about all the stuff beforehand, right? So you could make a hop forward alcohol-free beer. in the same way that like hop waters are not like in your face, but they are very hop forward and like again to the point where if you there's certain alcohol like the Wiper and True for example, I think if you drink it at a pace that you wouldn't normally do with the type of beer it is if it was beer, if you drink it a little quicker, you kind of like you mask over the moment where it stops being beer because it's the last moment. The finish never works. Like I've never had a good finishing alcohol-free beer, and that makes sense knowing how the taste works. But like the Wiper and True, if you're like on a hot day and you keep just supping it, it just works, right? Because it's got it's got the foretaste and the mid taste, not exactly, but really close to exactly right, and it sort of like just fades a little too quickly. But if you're doing it quick enough, you're never like in the space of where it sucks.
Yeah, I agree. This one, to be fair,
So I'm saying is pound your alcohol-free beer.
Yeah, this one has like a decent end, decent aftertaste to it once you get used to it. So yeah, hence why I've been able to stop on it for the whole time we've been recording. So yeah.
I mean, as an alcohol-free beer, if you've been like happy to like sup on it, not disappointed, that's not common for an alcohol-free beer. So I think that gets props.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got that orangey taste to it.
Oh, interesting. So the citrus is kind of like doing.
Yeah, without tasting like something that I wouldn't really want to drink, like a Lucozade or something like that. It isn't really sweet, as I said. So it's like it's a strange analogy, but like a flavored tea, like sort of like, oh, you're not just drinking something that's got like a bitter aftertaste. It's got more of like a sweeter, more rounded finish to it, but it lasts. It just has that like slight flavor to it. So yeah.
Okay.
I'll keep plugging away at these mash games.
I mean, so I've
when I
had
come across them.
one or two of them, and you've had I think a few more, and I just
probably about
think
4
they're
or
at the
5 at this point.
forefront, right? Like outside of that Wiper and True, like just like the consistency of the mash gang alcohol freeze feeling like beer for at least a large chunk of the taste curve. Again, it's the hard
definitely
part, right?
one of the biggest out there. Yeah, and I think it's this freedom to experiment with things like this is probably what makes them well known. Because it's like, oh, well, I'll try that one. I'll try that one. Maybe none of them will be great, but it's just like, I think it's valiant in trying, and I think these will be for some people, But apart from that green one, I've never had a unpleasant experience with them. So
yeah, fair. Aadil, the Jopen.
So it's really good. Again, the finish with that like lingering smokiness. I will say that I think the pure alcohol content and sweetness meant that like once I hit halfway, the smokiness was getting a bit overcome. So like the last chunks of last sips I've had, the lingering sweetness is the thing I'm seeking out versus is there just because I've been saturated with this like very heavy multi-sweet beer. That's not a bad trade-off. It just means that if you're looking for that smokiness, by the time you like hit the end, you might be disappointed that you don't detect it as easily. Like, I think I've been drinking it reasonably quickly, but I still have some left, right? And that's because, but like if I think about the last few sips I've had, I now have more lingering sweetness rather than lingering smokiness. Because I think the smokiness just got overcome. It's still very good. It's a very good beer. I don't want to get you wrong, but like, yeah, that's the only thing that's shifted since my initial analysis is now that I'm like, almost done the 10% beer. The smokiness is just receded a little too much, so that I can't quite seek it out on a small sip. So I have to take a bigger sip and kind of like focus where is that smokiness, whereas those like that first half hour of sips, because again easily a beer you could take at your own pace. The smokiness just was there. Wasn't strong, it was just lingering. But I think by the time you finish a 10% beer, your taste buds have just shifted. And so you just lose that. Because it's such a light, wonderful nuance. By the time you get to the end, you lose that ability to find it as easily. Having said that, the first 2/3, I could find it that easily, and I loved that it was smoky without being in my face. So I think it's fine, but that's just my flag. The thing I described isn't happening now. I don't think it's necessarily a problem, but it's just shifted, and I think it's the nature of taste buds and strong beers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I said at the start, this big beer feels like it's going to just be the same throughout.
Yeah, I was super curious.
It is a big beer. It's up about 8%. It's not quite towards that.
Oh yeah, but
heady heights of sort of
for
10
a dipper versus
11,
a smoked porter, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it did maintain all of those flavors kind of throughout and stayed as that solid block of flavor. It became more palatable maybe in actually the mouthfeel. It became less chewy as I was drinking it, rather than the flavor or my palate becoming acclimatized to the flavor, let's say. Actually, it opened up a little bit more, and there was a little bit more of say, actually sticking around now. It's less of the grapefruit bitterness and more like orange peel, right? That's kind of the overall flavor that I got after finishing the beer kind of 10-ish minutes ago. It's more orange peel that I've got kind of in there than anything. That orange did come out a little bit more as I was sort of drinking it, and combined maybe with that little bit of bitterness is why it's a bit more zesty, a bit more peely in terms of kind of what I'm getting. But yeah, absolutely solid double IPA. It doesn't, starts off quite big, but doesn't really feel like an IPA as you're drinking it more and more and more, as you become more acclimatized to the sort of the mouthfeel of it, things. So it's just Beak just seems to knock every beer style that I've tried from them out of the park. To be fair, I've not had any darker beers. I think I've had from pale ale into IPA into double IPA, kind of a range of different ones from them in that kind of those styles. So
I've got a nasty looking banana beer from Beak to give a deal.
Yeah, I swear. As soon as you said nasty looking, I'm like, I know what beer you're talking about.
It's like, no, thank you.
Good. We'll see what that's like at some point in the future. But we'll finish our episode out there for this week. If you want to get hold of us and talk to us about beers or games, you can do so on the socials. Currently, we are still at Tank Top Cast over on Twitter, but things seem to be moving a little bit more over to Blue Sky, and we are Out of Lives Nets on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
I'm also at Nova_47 on Twitter, but Nova 47 on Blue Sky because they don't allow the underscore. Lucy is.
Just check out my YouTube, Lucy Verbalist. Yeah, maybe if you type Juicy Loose, maybe I should figure this out. But yeah, just go Juicy Loose 9. You'll find me somewhere.
Just on YouTube, just type Lucy words.
Lucy Goose News. News.
YouTube, this is so vast. God knows what's going to come up if you do that. So probably just best not to search for anything on the internet.
I gave someone Tanked Up as I'll just look up Tanked Up for a podcast, and they're like, oh, you've got competition, and it was TANK_DUP, and it was like some random podcast, and I was like, it's not us, but now I can't just say look us up. Anyway,
is it like World War II recreations though? Because that would be good.
We'll let them have that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm at the Omniarch on all of the things except Twitch, where I'm the _Omniarch, and I haven't used that account in fucking ages. And Twitter, because I did the thing that I've been thinking about it for ages, which is burn my account, but I did it the way that, because I'm a big tech nerd, I found a script that you could run in the console of Chrome. So you log into your Twitter on Chrome, and then you run the script in the console, and it will. Oh, sorry. You ask for you get a backup from Twitter of your stuff, and then you point the script at your thing, and it will delete all your tweets, because I don't want Elon fucking doing any profit on my stuff.
Yeah.
So I literally burned my Twitter presence to the ground and then deleted my account. So every tweet I've made, I have an archive that I probably will never use, and Twitter has no presence of me. It's like I wasn't existent.
I thought you were going to say he had a script that just posted all those things to Blue Sky.
No, I don't care enough about the things I've said on social media to import them.
I don't think
there are people who do, right?
It's like where the script was going. Yeah.
But no, the script is actually to make sure that my presence on the platform's shitty. It's run by a terrible person who now has more power than they should. And I could have said that 6 months ago, and it would have been true, and it's way more true now. So the point was, when I saw that script existed, I was like, oh, if I'm going to leave Twitter or X or whatever the fuck it's called now, I'm going to do it properly, because when I joined, there was a reasonable notion of your control over your data. Yes, they will have backups, but the point is they won't continue displaying the things because I've deleted them, and I was allowed to delete them when I had an active account. They're no longer searchable, etc., and actually a lot of their traffic involves this backlog. So I've deleted the backlog. That was the point, right? So I know that they've trained Grok or whatever on my tweets because they've trained it on everyone's. I can't help that. But I can make it so that my presence isn't helping them.
Yeah, fair. Nice.
And I don't think Blue Sky is going to be the magic thing that will save social media, because ultimately they have capitalist investors. But at this point, the goals that they seem to have align with my goals. And as so long as I can do the same kind of bullshit I did just last week with Twitter, I'll do it with them. Right? And I think the big thing is people think that because we've used a piece of social media for long enough, that means it's too big to fail, in the way that banks literally were bailed out. And it's like, no, it's the same thing. We are the people who control the use of the platform.
Yes.
There's no bank that's too big to fail, because if everyone refused to use the fucking bank, it would fail.
Yep.
And social media is the same thing. And Elon's terrible custodianship of Twitter shows that. Because the reason why I left Twitter wasn't, to be honest, the indication was I stopped going there every week, let alone every day, because it was a hellscape. I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then I just sort of ignored it for a while, and then it was like, oh, this is like politically against my values. How do I best eject myself? Because I don't fucking care. Because I don't get to interact with people. The social media is killed. And Blue Sky could be the same thing in a few years, right? The point is, don't attach yourself to the platform as if it's your only place to be on the internet.
No, absolutely not. I just stopped using it. Like, things I'll just like check, like, oh, what are the Game Pass games out this month? And then after I've done that, I leave.
Yes.
Because it's not even the fact that it's just really unenjoyable. It's just unusable now. So it's like, it's not fit for purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair. So, social media wise, that's where we are currently.
But if you're watching the video, not according to this, I'll add a link to our little.
Oh, nice. Yes. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Well, our stream elements, overlays have to update and things like that as well. Hooray! Something else to have to do. Go to outoflives.net to look at our faces, look at the beers that we've been drinking, read the other articles from our other contributors as well, or visit our Out of Lives YouTube page where our episodes are posted each and every week. that, I think, is all of the places, the games that we've been thinking about, at least, and some of us have been playing, and the beers that we have drank this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. We will catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net